Louisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning. Hi,
Good
thank you.
morning. So, I know you because you are my Chinese physician, but for the audience out there who don't know you, could you maybe start by just introducing yourself and your work a little bit to us?
Okay, so thank you for having me today again. My name is Louisa Kwok. I'm a registered traditional Chinese practitioner in Hong Kong. I'm a HKU graduate of TCM and currently practicing at Osteo & Co. in Hangzhou and Yan Oi Tong Chinese Medical Center. So my area of interest are women's health, stress management, and traditional Chinese medicine preventative care. So my objective of my clinical practice is to improve the internal systems of one's balance and the quality of my life for my patients.
So, Louisa, you mentioned stress management as something that you do. And as you know, I'm doing this month of a theme of relax, which is a lot about how do we relax when we live very busy, stressful lives. So, I'm really curious when people come to you, do they come and say they're stressed or do they show up with some other kinds of symptoms?
Okay, so stress definitely can affect our emotions and our body in a lot of different ways, creating a wide range of symptoms. So common physical ones are pain issue, including like headaches and chronic pain. So other ones, they will have like poor sleep, low energy, weak immunity, and some even like digestive problems. In severe cases, I've seen more emotional symptoms like anxiety and depression, panic attack, and even like eating disorders.
And I'm actually curious. So, how how has that changed over the last few years because of COVID and because of all the stressful stuff that's been happening to us, in Hong Kong in the last few years? Have you seen more of these symptoms and more people who are stressed coming to you?
Yeah, so definitely COVID, they create a lot of stress tension, not just, personal stress, but, like stress from their work, their life, like not being able to see their family. This type of stress just causing a lot of tension in their body. So I've been seeing
Mm,
more patients with like stress issue lately.
yeah, yeah. And I think also because you work with pain, right? So it's probably a lot of connection.
Yes.
Yeah. So, from a Western medicine perspective, which is what I'm more familiar with, I know a lot of the effects, right? The biological effects, how it suppresses our immune system, it can damage our cardiovascular system, it will increase our blood pressure, etc., etc. So, but from a Chinese medicine perspective, how do you understand stress and the effects of stress? And then also, of course, how do you treat it?
Right. So according to the TCM theory, we need like the free flow of qi within our body
Mm,
to ensure regular activity. Furthermore, the connection, because our body, mind, soul, they need to be connected. So we recognize stress as like a qi stagnation. However, mild stress actually it's good for you to enhance your ability to cope with new situations, but long time unresolved stress affect different area of our body depending on your body constitutions. So the most common imbalance is located in our liver system because we think that liver is responsible for moving qi. So once we have our diagnosis, we will set TCM treatments such as like acupuncture, herbal medicine, or like cupping and such, aiming to rebalance the body's organ system, mostly moving the qi to help to resolve any possible stagnations.
mm, mm.
In TCM diagnosis, we have a disharmony pattern called liver heat or like the fire syndrome. So this type of patient usually is like less calm, maybe a bit irritable, so can be easily triggered. So I know you practice mindfulness. So how do you usually guide them to practice mindfulness?
Yeah, yeah. I also see this a lot. Same thing as you, right? Because a lot of people are stressed and have busy lives. So usually what I start with is always trying to do something that people feel they can access some calm, right? Because they come to find some relief. So when you're irritable, you will feel all kinds of, usually, a lot of maybe energy around here, or a lot of energy going up to the head. So we can experiment. It depends on each person. But there are ways, like, some people find it very calming to just put a hand on the heart. And then maybe maybe they can just lie there, put a hand on their heart when they're about to go to sleep, or first thing when they wake up in the morning. But it doesn't work for everyone. So there are other things you can do, right? So movement practices. So you can practice mindfulness, like mindful yoga, or you can do mindful walking. Um, the other way is also using the ground. So, like I said, you can lie down. Some people I even suggest try and lie down on the floor. Actually, just feeling, more of the, like I said, sometimes if the feeling of the energy keeps going up to the head, you need to find a way to connect back down to the ground, right? So, yeah. So, these are some ways that if someone is just, easily triggered, then finding a way to ground back.
Okay, I see. So there's also another type of like people according to our DCM diagnosis, which would be the weak people. So if a person constantly having like low energy, I'm just a bit curious, like would it be more difficult for him or her to practice mindfulness? Because it seems it needs a bit of energy to start the brain work.
Yeah, so that's also very interesting. So I'll go back to what I said the last question also, which is I always try and work with people. I do a lot of work one to one, but even in groups, start where it's easy, because we're all different, right? We're all different personalities. We all different things work for us. So what I would say is first start where it's easy for you. So for someone with lower energy, or who's just maybe already just feeling a bit, then first of all, my suggestion would be don't add any more pressure to yourself, because
Okay.
it's already, if you say to yourself, I have to go and put effort, I have to do this extra thing, it's going to be very difficult. But then working, so say for example, then you have low energy, maybe you're like lying down, you're like, oh, how am I going to get up and meditate? It's possible to just be aware of how you feel. So maybe just again using some of the techniques I said, hand on the heart, just to feel, oh, I feel tired. This is how it feels. Instead of trying to make yourself feel differently, it's possible. Mindfulness is actually about being aware of what's here, not necessarily changing it. So starting from there, and then without putting pressure on yourself, then your energy might change. Then you can try some other practices. But also you can, I sometimes also then suggest, if the low energy is low but it's not that low and they can move around, then also trying some qigong, or walking, or easy yoga, but very gentle, right? Just to also work with whatever energy there is to try and lift and create some flow. You mentioned flow earlier. Also want to create a sense of flow in the body. Yeah, but you're asking some very good questions, because that was where I was going to go, right? So if you have someone, okay, let's say some of my clients, or some of the audience out there, so maybe they don't have really very serious health issues, or really serious, whether mental or emotional health, or physical health issues causing their stress, but it's just busy lives. Is there anything that we can do at home for ourselves? Simple tips, simple Chinese traditional remedies that can be useful for people who just want to help themselves relax a bit more?
Yeah, so if you feel just a little bit stressed at the moment, can try the rose tea remedies to just release the qi stagnation a bit. So in TCM, we think that a dry Chinese rosebud, which is like 玫瑰花, can promote the movement of the qi. So basically, it can relieve the stiffness in the chest, and just alleviate a bit of mild depression. So you just need a tablespoon of dry rosebud, and then just put the ingredients in a tea bag, steep in freshly boiled water for just like 5 minutes, and then you can just like enjoy it. So looking at the beautiful petals can also make you feel a little bit happier as well. So this would be good for just to release that mild stretch. Another one is the yay stretch, which I always do. So just throws your hands up in the air hold for a second, yay, yes. Sometimes you can just say yay. This will allow your back to straighten up and then to
Mm,
open your tight upper chest a little bit more. So it's all about that chi movement, which is the same energy flow, right?
mm. Yeah, I find that very interesting because you notice I also, in mindfulness, we actually also use the body a lot. And I noticed earlier you talked about the body, mind, and soul or heart connection.
Right.
So using that, like even that body, I don't use this one, but oftentimes, I'll just like you notice I say hand on heart or just the movements. It's also the sense of flow. So I'm very yeah, it's just very interesting actually. A lot of these ancient wisdoms and um, ways of working with the body, heart, and mind are quite similar.
Yeah, definitely similar. And at the end, what we wanted to do is, to connect the physical body with our emotion as well.
Mm. Yeah, earlier you asked me about maybe someone who's easily irritated or easily triggered and has a bit of stress. One of the things that has happened to me before, is there's a body feeling of the stress, right? So you have the heart is racing, I have all this tension. Then because of that, we start thinking, what can I do? Oh, can I go to Louisa? Can I do mindfulness? Can I fix myself? What can I do to make this go away? And then because you start thinking, then actually the body continues to tense because you're like, okay, let me go and fix this. Then there's a bit of a cycle. The mind thinking creates more of the anxiety and stress. The stress creates more thinking. Then there's this cycle that happens. So one of the things that we do in mindfulness is we try and start to observe thoughts as thoughts, body feelings as body feelings. And they're related, but they're not exactly the same thing, right? So instead of just going round in this cycle, we can start to see, oh, that's a thought, but I don't have to react to that thought. I can let it go. Then the body has a chance to settle down because I put my hand on my heart or I go for a mindful walk instead of sitting here thinking about my stress.
Um, Actually, most of my patients, when I ask them to, do practice mindfulness or just, meditation for a bit, they always complain that they have a really busy schedule. So is there
Mm.
any like way to practice mindfulness, even like if they're at their office, like any tip for them to, if they want to do a quick practice, how should they do it?
Yeah. So I would say a couple of things. Start where you can. So if you think it's possible to do 1 minute, do 1 minute. If you can do three, do three. If you can do five, do five, and so on. So there's no limit to how short the meditation is. But on the other hand, even if you do it for a minute, I would recommend it needs to become a habit. So, how do you build habits? Is through consistency, it's through doing it whether you feel like it or not. And then the benefits will really come. So, it needs to, balance both. So, on one hand, do it short. You don't have to do long, long, long periods and wow, I have no time. But then it needs to happen. So, even in a busy schedule, to find that 5 minutes every day is really helpful.
So it can be in
And
like anywhere.
oh, yes. Just give you a very practical example. So what I used to do is once I get to the office, there was a period of time where I said before I do anything at the office, I would just sit there for 5 minutes. But of course, I can only do that if there's nobody around. So
Yeah.
I would have to do it quite early in the morning. Or if there's a meeting room or somewhere that your patients can go to just sit for a few minutes. The other option is to be very deliberate. So, say for example, you take the MTR, right? So, from the MTR station, walking up to your office, you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this as mindfully as I can. Because I know once I get to the office, my day is just going to go, right?
Mm.
So, before that, I say, okay, this 5 minute walk or 3 minute walk, even if I'm in a lift with a lot of people, nobody knows that you're really trying to be mindful and calm yourself and follow your breathing, for example. So absolutely, you can actually do it anywhere. But I would also say it's helpful to learn the basics first in a more controlled environment.
Okay.
right? So whether it's finding a teacher, whether it's following an app, just to know what you're doing, then you can take it out into your daily life quite easily. Yeah. So it's a very, very useful and very flexible tool. Actually,
Mm,
mindfulness at the end of the day should be something we can do anytime, all the time. It's a bit like what you said earlier, even when you're doing your rose tea, you can look at the rose buds, you can smell it, and you can just pause. That's actually already mindfulness practice. It's not just being here where you are. Instead of, like we were saying earlier, sometimes our stress will bring us away to what if, when,
mm,
then, after, before. Whereas, if we're just pausing right here and we do one thing at one time, that's actually mindfulness practice. I always say it's very simple, but it's not easy. So, Louisa, it's the long weekend. So, I know you're really, really busy during the week. So, we have Friday and the weekend off. So, I'm very curious. What does a TCM doctor do to help herself relax and relieve stress?
yeah, really looking forward to my long weekend. So as much as I would like to balance my overall emotions, sometimes I still experience, stress. So my go-to de-stress way is to spending time with my dog and my fur baby. So studies have shown that pets can reduce stress, anxiety, and depressions. I think definitely my dog can boost my mind, calm me, and relax me. So if it's not hot out there, I'm gonna take him for a walk. And also, I recently found that I love playing music. So for me, playing the piano can take my mind off when something is stressing me. I think for all of you out there, definitely just find something that really suits you the best to release the stress accumulated throughout the week. It can be exercising, it can be, making just crafts or baking some cookies, right?
Mm. Wonderful. So I hope you get to do all of that. It does look quite hot, but yeah, you'll have to see. But yes, I can completely agree with what you said. Whether it's fur babies or baking or just doing something you enjoy, it's very
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I really hope that our conversation is going to help a lot of your patients and my clients. I really think that there's so many different ways that we can help our own body and mind health, whether it's really TCM or mindfulness or exercise or fur babies.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
so thank you again, Louisa. It's really been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I will make sure that when we post this, we will link all your, various. I think obviously your Instagram link for a start, and then so that people will know where to find you if they would like to. And then of course you can do the same for me.
Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.